While striking further north and further from Hezbollah strongholds, Israeli bombs kill 8 people in a 2-story home in the Lebanese village of Ain Yaqub. Israel says it fired a missile to target a Hezbollah member who had fled from the south. More than 3,000 people have been killed in Lebanon over the past year since cross-border fire between Israel and Hezbollah began. On Monday, Israel's foreign minister said steps towards a ceasefire had been made. However, a spokesperson for Hezbollah said they're unaware of such. While Israeli bombs are also continuing to rain over Gaza, medics there say 2 strikes have killed another 14 people there, hitting a region already so badly battered, left lying on the streets or sheltering in basements with no running water, no electricity, little if any food. People in Gaza still under siege and facing now famine. Israel continuing to bomb and to block aid getting into the region. The UN says Israel denied 85% of aid convoys last month. A US bid to put pressure on that clearly failing. Well, we're joined now by media advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council in the Middle East, Ahmed Bayram. Thanks so much for your time. Firstly, Mr. Bayram, can you tell me the latest you're hearing from teams on the ground, what they're hearing, what they're seeing, the situation as it stands?
I mean, obviously, in northern Gaza, the situation is suffocating. People running out of not just food, not just water, but also shrouds for the people they want to bury, who they're not able to bury. We've heard stories of people still looking for their loved ones stuck under the rubble and, probably, already dead. We've heard about food prices soaring further and further. Everything is either beyond reach or beyond affordability. It's a complete, almost complete siege we're talking about here, under which 80,000 people are being kept. I think what's happening in northern Gaza will probably decide the face of the coming months, probably the face or the direction of this deadly conflict. Obviously, people running out of options here, and people who try to cross from or get out from their homes are at risk of being shot at. So there's no way out for these people. They are stuck. They are being starved, obviously, with aid cut and with no agencies allowed to provide aid. So we have probably overused the word catastrophe, but this is really what describes what's happening on the ground at the moment.
Indeed, we're hearing, that 90%, if not more, of aid that went to the border has been denied entry. Is anything getting in at all? We're hearing that they're on the brink of famine.
From our experience, there's not much really. We have probably been able to bring in a couple of aid trucks here and there the entire of October. We have hundreds of thousands worth of aid still, stuck on the Israeli side, probably, being spoiled in the elements. This is also, don't forget, this is donor money. This is the aid that, the biggest powers, who also happen to be Israel's biggest allies, have provided for the people to relieve the people. And there's not much that is coming in. Obviously, the crossings have almost all completely been, obviously shut, probably except for a couple of crossings from where some aid makes its way. I think the international pressure has been, short, or probably, I think, to the point of embarrassment, really, what's happening on that front, on the diplomatic front, and the pressure on Israel that is, not being exerted enough by world powers.
Indeed, it doesn't feel like there's any pressure being put on Israel. Even today, we were coming up to that deadline set by the United States saying if Israel didn't let aid in, there would be consequences. But Israel making no effort on that or indeed on bringing this war to a conclusion.
I agree. And I think that probably Israel feels that it has a free hand probably in this lull period, before the new president comes in. I'm not sure what the thinking is, but I know that people really cannot wait one more day, let alone 2 months, for anything to change, really. So probably Israel is thinking that, it can get away, and it has got away with lots, honestly, on the humanitarian front, at least, suffocating an entire population from the basics. preventing, food, water, electricity, supplies, preventing fuel from coming in. Very little that is making its way. So I think the level of the level of power that Israel has been allowed on the humanitarian front, at least, I don't think we have seen the likes of that anywhere else in the world, and it should never have happened. It has happened, and I think now, these powers who do the talk and who do the, ultimatums and deadlines have to, wake up and see what's happening on the other side of this, in people's homes and in shelters and on the street in Gaza, that is in the north, whether that is in the south.
And all the while we're hearing of ongoing bombing. Once again, overnight, another 14 people killed. So much of Gaza, so many of the buildings already destroyed. Where do you see this going from here?
I don't think anyone really has the answer outside of that cabinet in Israel. Probably, we know that there are so many differences that make it futile to attempt to predict what's going to happen, even within that Israeli government. I think we have been repeating this for 14 months now, almost. We have been saying we're not going to stop saying, we need a ceasefire. We do need a ceasefire. We've seen in the Arab summit yesterday, the Arabs will also have a big role to play into bringing this to an end, to the conflict to an end. But we know, the most powerful party here is Israel, with the most powerful weapons and the most advanced weapons. So all the key is probably in Washington and in Tel Aviv. So I think the pressure is now on the US administration to bring this an end. Before obviously the end of this current term. And I think the same goes for Europeans, who should, get serious about ending this. So we hope, the suffering will end and this bloodshed will end very soon.
And in the face of the lack of action from governments around the world, is there anything individuals can do to help these people in Gaza?
I think keep raising the voice. I think we have seen humanity being put first on the streets of world capitals. I think for the sake of Israeli citizens, for the sake of Israeli civilians, I should say, and hostages, and for the sake of Palestinians, this has to come an end. This is not good for Israel. This is not good for the Palestinians. This is not good for the people of the region. So individuals should keep shouting, that one word, ceasefire. That is what we need, and that is the action that we need from the biggest of world powers.
Yeah, maybe more protests being called for across the world and to raise our voices. Ahmed Bayram, thanks so much for joining us and giving us once again an update on that picture in Gaza, where the bombing and the blockade continues.